where we left off last time is we made the nav bar, and when we click the links, we go to different paths in our site, and different components render according to that. So, and it's fully responsive too, so that's cool. But one thing that we want to do is we want to add a button that the user can click so that so a modal can show up on the screen, and that modal is where the user will put in their post and to eventually submit their post to the backend. And we want to stick that into the nav bar. So let's get started on that. So let's go over here to the nav component, and first I want to just refactor all this, because this is literally like almost the same exact thing. So instead of doing that, we could make this a little better designed. So let's do const links, and then we just return this, and we stick it in a JSX fragment so we can actually so this is valid syntax. Okay, and we're gonna pass in props, one called set nav, or no, we're just gonna do it set nav, and here we're gonna, instead of immediately returning something, we're gonna do if set nav, just like that. So let's copy this link tag, paste it in here, and same thing, paste it in here, and make sure this is to /account. So instead of doing this up here, we can just do the links and pass in set nav to equal set nav. And we can do the same thing here, but make set nav equal null. Okay. Perfect. And let's make sure this works by just going in here and also console logging. So we only want this to run. We only want this to run if we're on a mobile environment. So let's open up the console, and which one was it? It was the feed button. Okay. So prints nothing, so it's not running, but when we go here, prints hi. So we know we got that to work fine. Alright, perfect. It's a lot more organized now. So now we go to our links, and at the end we're gonna stick our button, our post button. So let's make a styled component called post modal.styled.js, and here we're gonna import styled, and we're gonna export a const variable called post modal button, and that's gonna equal styled.button, and we're gonna put that here, and inside there's gonna be an I tag, and with the class name of FAS-FA-plus. Here it is. And on mobile, see where it is? Here. So let's do mobile first. So we go here to the styling of the button and just add a media query. So if it's if the screen is under a width of 600 pixels, we want to do a margin top of auto and margin inline of auto. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so now we got this organized, and on desktop they're still in the same place. So now we want to do we'll do it up here. No, we just stick it in here. So we want to do a padding of 1 rem and 2 rem on sides. We want to do a font size of well, actually, let's do it the other way around. So a min width of 600, and we just stick these on both, right? And if it's on desktop, it's gonna be a margin of 0. And we're doing this because you'll see later on, it's just gonna be easier for us. So font size of 2 rem, let's check it out. Nice. So we want the color, and we can access our themes. We want to be theme.primary. Forgot to add a semicolon there. And a background color of transparent, and I want to do a border radius of 5 pixels, and I'll add a border to this thing. A border of 4 pixels solid, and yeah, the theme. Let's just access that. Looks good to me. Might be a little too big, I'm not sure. Let's make the font a little bigger though. Okay, and just make the padding a little smaller. We'll do 0.7. That looks good. Okay. And when we click this button, basically we want it to be just like this. So we want it to close the navbar if we're on mobile. So yeah, we don't want that to stay open. Okay, and now desktop, too big. So the CSS is pretty, like, not even that much. I'm already doing it. So on here, we just want to fix that padding. We can make it 0.5 rem and 0.2, or the other way around, sorry. Okay, looks good. The font size, we can change that to 2.4 rem. You can do just 2 rem as the font. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And for the padding on the sides, let's do something a little smaller. So I think that was fine. Yeah, let's just keep it like that. Okay. So we got this working. Let's add a hover effect. And this is where I was talking about it was going to be easier to just do it here. Okay, and I just remembered that these buttons, they have their own like, it's hard to work with other browsers. So basically, like on phones in Safari, there's usually like bugs because they're trying to add their own styles, and we're kind of messing with that a lot. I've experienced that, so I really think we should just change this to an I tag, and over here we just make this an I tag. And this will be the post modal button, and then we just give it a class name of FASFA-plus. And nothing really changed, but it's going to be a lot easier to manage because the browsers don't try to mess with this, but with buttons they try to add their own colors, their own theming, their own everything, and it just messes with our stuff. So it's better like that. Yeah. So on the hover, we want to, if we're on desktop, we want to do a little animation to it. So on the hover, we would do the color. Let's get our theme in here. So we want to make it see-through, but when I do transparent, it doesn't work. So let's just set the color manually, and it will be theme.elevation 2, which is the same color as the navbar, if you remember. And I close that. I want to keep it open. Okay. And the background color, we would we'll set it to the foreground color, and it's gonna be the background color be primary. And yeah, so let's check it out. Okay, that's pretty cool. So let's add a transition to that. Let's do all 150 millisecond ease in. I want to do the same thing for the border. So it's 4 pixels, I believe, solid. And then we would just switch that out. Nah, that doesn't look good. That's better. But ease in, I want to do ease in, out. No. Maybe just ease. That's fine. That's fine for our purpose. So that's cool and all, but let's actually make a modal show up. And we're gonna do that here in the on click. So first of all, let's make our modal. We're gonna make it over here. We want it to be accessible no matter where the user is. We want it to be accessible everywhere. So let's make that. Let's make a component for it called postmodal.jsx. I'm gonna use my snippets. And let's make a style for it here. So it's gonna be a div container, and inside of it, it's gonna live. Inside of it will be our post modal form. And let's make a default export for the post modal. Okay. Okay. Let's make this a styled, name it styled post modal, and we're gonna import that. And not only that, but we're also going to want to import post modal form, and inside of the container will obviously live our form. And inside this form we're going to have kind of like a header. So let's make another styled component for that. Yeah, we are going to export it, so it's going to be post modal header. Okay. So post modal header. And then aside from the header, we're gonna have our text area with the name of post, and that's it. A text area and a button. We actually don't, we can just style this inside the actual form, so we don't need to make it its own component. We can just do button type submit, just like that. Just check it out. Oh, it's actually not gonna be there, I think, because we haven't even put it in here. So let's render that, and let's make a state. So const modal open and set modal. Not the best naming convention, but it works. So we want it to default to false. And here we're gonna wrap this in curly braces and do if modal open, then just you can render the post modal. And the set modal will pass down to the nav, and in the nav we'll access it over here. First we gotta take it in, so it was open modal, just like that. And so in the links, let's receive that, and in the post modal button we want to call that. So open modal takes in the previous value, which is a boolean, and just toggle that. Really this should be called toggle modal or set modal. That's what it really should be called. Should be called that. So set. It should be called set modal. Okay, so in here, oh, it is called set modal. Okay, yeah, Brain fart. Okay. Alright, so it should work, but let's actually make it render something. So hi. Oh, I misspelled form. Wow. Okay. Alright, so it works. Not ideally how we want it, but it does work. This is our text area, that's the header, and this is the submit button. Now let's just style it so it looks pretty. But the logic works. Okay. So we're good here. I think we're good here for now. So let's just work in here. So, okay, let's style it. Let's style post-modal. Here we want to do a position of absolute and an inset of 0. That's a problem. Okay, let's make sure that this button has a z-index of 3 so we can always click it. Yeah, I hate those type of bugs. So annoying. This needs to have a z-index of 0. Okay, perfect. It shouldn't get in the way though, but okay. Make sure we stick this modal behind everything else. This could have a z-index of 2. The actual button. Okay. So as you can see, this is our post modal here, and it's already overlapping our whole screen, and that's kind of what we want. So let's give it a background color of hexadecimal 1111. Let's try that. What about FFFF? Okay, it does work. What about 4444? Okay, so maybe 1114. Too dark. So 4442. That works. Okay, that works. And let's make this a display of flex. And justify content center and align items center. Let's center the form basically. Perfect. And let's go into the form and make it have a width of 90%, but a max width of 500 pixels. Right, and let's add a background color to that, which could be like 444 hexadecimal. Actually, we should be using our theme, so access that theme and theme dot elevation 3. Nice. So this should have a height of 50%. That looks good for now. If we need to, we'll fix it later. Let's add a box shadow to it. And we'll access our theme at shadow. So we added a nice little shadow to it. And let's also make this a display of flex and just flex direction of column. And we want to align items to align them horizontally to the center, just like that. And yeah, it's seeming to work fine. So we want to make this right here in H1 with new post. We want to make this yeah, we can style the button from in here. So any direct child of this element, which is a button, we'd style it. Let it have a margin top of auto and margin. I'm pretty sure that doesn't, it does work, yeah. So let's make it a pad. First of all, let's add some text inside of this button. So inside this button, we want a p tag that has a submit new post. Alright. So the button, we want it to have a color of white and a background color of, let's access the theme. Theme dot primary. An outline of 0, border of 0, and appearance of none. Want to do the same thing Safari. Want to do the same thing on Mozilla. Try to take off those defaults that they put. And the text decoration to none. They like to change the colors too. Alright, let's do a padding of 1 rem, 2 rem, and a font size of 2 rem. Way too big, okay. 1.5. Okay, just 1. 1.4. And then a padding of 0.5 rem and 1 rem. Still feel like it should have more padding. Okay, that looks good. Alright. So let's add a border radius. 5 pixels to it. And let's add a little little animation. So when it's active, we want to transform the scale to 0.98. So when we press it, well, you saw it submitted, but if you can tell, it has like a little jump to it, and that's what we want. So let's style the text area. We can also style that here inside of the form. So any direct child, which is a text area, we want it to have a width of 90%, right? But a max width of 400 pixels. So as our screen gets smaller, it stays 90%, but however, as the screen gets bigger, it doesn't stretch anymore. And I don't know why some text is showing here. I guess it's overflowing. But I don't think any phone gets this small, or any modern phone gets this small, so it's okay. Alright, and let's also give this a margin block of auto, see what it does. Kind of centers itself, I guess. Instead of all this margin stuff, we should just make the actual form a justified content of space around. Let's go in this button. Yeah, we don't need the auto margins, we can use the flexbox. So let's do a height of 50%. Looking great. Let's do an outline of 0, border of 0, right? Okay. A padding of 1 rem and 2 rem on sides. Let's add a border radius to this. Ooh, what's this? We don't want that. Okay, so it turns out we just need to do a here resize of none, and that won't be available. Good. So let's give this a font size of 1.4 rem. Let's see. Alright, works perfectly. But we don't want users spamming posts. You know, when we made our database, there's a max length of 255. So why don't we actually implement that? Yeah, let's actually do that. So let's go over here and into this text area, and let's make it a controlled component. So we can go here and do const yeah, I mean it's only one input, so we can just use one state for it. We don't have to make it too complex. So this can be value set value equals to use state. Set this to an object with post equals to nothing. Right? And so the value can be equal to value.post, and then the on change, we can make that set value, and then it gets passed in an event. So we can access that, and we set the value to e.target.name, e.target.value. Now it should work fine, but we have control over the whole thing. Okay, so here instead of just rendering count, we're gonna render 255 minus minus value dot length. And so here we don't really got to worry about anything else except changing the value itself of the state. We don't really have to use this state either. So let's try it out. Oh, forgot it's value.post. Okay, so let's try it out. All right, works perfectly. So we got that done, but how do we exit this modal? Well, we want to make it that when we click the background, it exits. So let's go over here and use ref. So background ref equals use ref. And so we want to do that here. The ref of the background is background ref. And we want to make an on click. And so it takes in an event. And it does something. So we want to check if e.target is equal to background ref dot current If that's true, we want to do we want to close this post modal. So we would have to pass this down as well. And let's take in that prop. So if the target that we clicked is equal to the background and not the form, we want to set modal false. So we exit out by clicking on the background, but when we click the post or anything inside of it, it doesn't close. And let's make the on submit event. So on submit, so we want to do e.prevent default. And then we want to do set value post. We're going to basically like empty out the text area. But first we want to grab that, and here's where we would send the post to the backend server. Alright, so let's test everything out. Okay, the on submit should not be on the button, it should be on the actual form. Now let's test it out. Doesn't refresh. Last thing left to do in the on submit is set the modal to false. Perfect. So when we submit our new posts, it's false. Also, we only want to send anything if the post text dot length is greater than 0. If the post length is at least 0, that's when we contact the API. Perfect. And we're on mobile. This is a bit too big. Okay, so I just had to change the box sizing to border box, and it's working as expected. Maybe I think that the padding should be a little bit less. It should just be 1 rem on all sides. So on mobile, it works. All right. And on desktop, it works. We do have this little bug where while it's open, we can still open this and then we can click on it, but that doesn't really matter. It's nothing's wrong with that. So, all right, we got everything working. On the next episode, we're gonna start sending requests to the API. We're gonna send over the post. We're gonna use React query, and our backend is gonna handle that, and we'll start working on that.